Hi, this is the first tutorial on making selections. I guess the first question is, why do we need to make selections? Well, a very common flow of work in Elements is to select a section of an image and then do something to it. Perhaps you might want to change the colour, change the opacity, move it, or cut it out and include it in a collage. The permutations are almost endless. To my mind, being able to make accurate selections and mastering layers, which we'll come to later, are the two key areas to being able to use Elements creatively. We'll start with the simplest selection. If you want to select the whole image, use Ctrl and A. A stands for all. You'll see what's known as the marching ants round the edge. They mark the boundaries of the selection. I could now copy it, ready to paste onto another image, or I can fill it with colour. Simple as that. I'll now undo that so it's ready for the next bit. Now we'll use the marquee tools. These are ideal for demonstrating the principles of adding to and subtracting from selections. You can choose the marquee tools from the toolbar or by pressing the letter M on your keyboard. There are two variations, the rectangular marquee tool and the elliptical marquee tool. You use them in the same way, by dragging with the mouse from the top left to the bottom right. So, to make a rectangular selection, you select the rectangular marquee tool, drag and release the mouse. Note that the marching ants have appeared around the edges. At the top left-hand side of the options bar, you'll see four small icons. These are New Selection, which we've just done, Add to Selection, Subtract from Selection, and Intersect with Selection. If I click on Add to Selection and draw another rectangle, then the new shape will also become part of the same selection. A new shape can also overlap the original one to create a composite shape, like this. In other words, they're combined. Now, if I fill it with colour again, you'll see what I mean. If I now click on Subtract from Selection and draw a shape that overlaps one of the existing ones, then it will be cut out of the old one, like that. The same will apply if I select the elliptical marquee tool. So I can cut out the centre of this rectangular marquee selection, or I can take a bite out of this corner. So these are subtracting from the selection. If I fill it with colour again, you'll see what I mean. I've cleared the deck so I can show you the last option. This is Intersect with Selection. With this one, if you have two shapes that overlap, then the selection will be created just in the area where they overlap. So if I draw two overlapping shapes, a rectangle perhaps, and then I'll select the elliptical marquee tool and draw a shape, a second shape, then the selection is created just where the two crossed. Again, I can fill it with colour. The Transform a Selection command is really useful. Say you've created a shape, but you want to add a bit extra on one or more sides. You go to the Select menu and choose Transform Selection. There's no keyboard shortcut for this one. This puts a box around the selection with drag handles on each side. You can use these to increase or decrease the selection on any side, in the same way as you did with the crop box. You can also rotate the selection by moving the cursor a little bit away from the boundary until you get a two-headed arrow. You then hold the mouse button down and drag the selection as far as you want to. You can also drag the corner of the boundary to change the height and width at the same time. If you select Constrain Proportions, in the options bar, then the aspect ratio will stay the same as you drag, like that. If you don't have constrained proportions selected, then you can distort the selection. You see? Finally, press the Enter key or click on the green arrow to accept the changes. This is probably a good time to point out the difference between moving a selection and moving the contents of a selection. I'll just open an image so I can show you what I mean. You're familiar by now with the idea of holding the Control key down to temporarily change a tool into the Move tool. If you want to move a selection, that is the marching ants, then you just drag with the mouse, making sure that you haven't chosen Add to or Subtract from Selection. You can put it wherever you like. If you want to move the contents of a selection, then you hold the Control key down while you drag. As you can see, the result is quite different. In this section, I've deliberately worked with a blank image so that you could see the marching ants easily. In the next section, we'll use a variety of selection tools to achieve much more interesting results.